You open your eyes to the roar of 50,000 throats. It's not a battlefield. It's not the present. It's just hot sand, the raw metallic stink of iron, and the stone walls of the Colosseum trembling with bloodlust. 4 Navy SEALs barely tighten their formation when the ground under their feet snaps open like a trap. One man vanishes into darkness. The 3 left behind hear the bellow of beasts being released. How do they survive? How do they escape? Hit that subscribe button right now to find out. The team leader sweeps his eyes, raises 2 fingers, and clenches his fist. Regroup, 360-degree defense. No one asks. They just do it. Their fingers tremble, but their eyes are steady. One checks his magazine. Another pats his grenade pouch. The last touches his earpiece, but the radio answers only with static. A roar of Latin crashes down on them, mixed with delighted laughter. The sand under their boots burns. High above, a powerful figure stands. The crowd roars louder, then goes dead silent in a single breath. A metal latch snaps somewhere under the stone. The floor shivers. Before they can even step back, right in the middle of their formation, a slab drops out from under them. The rear man falls straight into a black pit, catching the sandy lip for a split second before he disappears. The other 3 surge forward, but the mouth of the hole has already closed, as if it never existed. In that instant, they understand the rules. This isn't a match. This is a stage, and they are the act. Across from them, an iron gate as tall as a house opens, slow and deliberate. The stench of wild animal pours out. A roar rolls over the stone like thunder. The team leader tightens his grip on the trigger and says one short line: "Hold position. Find a way to get our man back." A lion steps out, shoulders rippling with every growl. The 3 SEALs spread into a triangle, never turning their backs on one another. The leader raises his fist. Wait. They shoot to live, not to show off. The beast charges, sand curling under its claws. 2 short, precise shots. The first breaks its drive at the shoulder. The second ends it mid-leap. The carcass drops with a heavy thud. The crowd goes silent for a beat, then erupts. Down below, the man who fell slams his back into stone, ears ringing. He scrambles up, grabs his radio, only static. His flashlight snaps on, revealing a narrow corridor, swaying chains, and the thick stink of beasts. From a dark corner, a muscular man, powerful but ragged, crawls out. A fresh gash across his chest still seeps blood. His eyes are fixed on the modern rifle, like it's a miracle. He speaks rapid Latin, pointing up at the ceiling, then toward a row of iron cages. He introduces himself with a hoarse name, Marcus. He whispers that to get out, they must go through the animal cages, that the guards never sleep. Up on the sand, the cheering swells again. A new spectacle is being prepared. Down in the darkness, an iron door creaks open. Torchlight sweeps the walls. The sound of iron-shod steps draws near. Whips cracked, driving ragged prisoners onto the sand. Hands clutching stones, eyes wild with terror. The 3 SEALs held formation. Seeing it instantly, these people were bait. The team leader signaled, "Hold fire." He lowered his muzzle and shot into the sand right in front of them. The explosion ripped through the arena. The prisoners stopped dead. The second SEAL fired into a wooden stake. It splintered, and the fear in the arena switched owners. The leader stepped forward, his voice like cold steel, and gave a one-word order anyone could understand. Back. The crowd scattered, opening a path. One desperate man still rushed forward. The SEAL on the left swung his rifle butt, knocking him down, then raised the muzzle high. No stray rounds. No butchers. In the stands, the howl for blood surged. Below, in the dark, the separated SEAL pressed into a crack in the wall with Marcus. He killed his light just as torchlight swept past, reading the patrol's rhythm. Step, stop, turn. When the guard hit the blind spot, the SEAL yanked him into the dark. Wrist lock, a quick squeeze. No time to scream. He burned the pattern into his mind. The guard's turn created a gap, and that gap was their way to live. Marcus snatched the spear. Silence returned. A cloak, keys, and a torch changed hands. Marcus whispered, "To get out, you pass the animal cages." Just then, pulleys overhead groaned, hauling something heavy to the surface. Back on the sand, a side gate opened. A gladiator stepped out like a drawn blade, bright armor, round shield, cold eyes fixed on the gun barrels. He didn't charge. He angled, measuring distance, timing their firing rhythm. A second followed with a trident, using the shield man for cover. They were waiting for a magazine change, for that one beat when a muzzle dropped. The SEALs answered with short bursts, firing into the sand to deny them ground, but they were being pushed back, step by step, toward the stone wall. Behind them, stone. In front, steel. Above, the roar for blood. The leader's eyes flicked to his remaining magazines, then down, searching the floor for an escape. Down below, the separated SEAL and Marcus moved through a maze of ropes and cages. Marcus used his hands to explain. Beast roots, slave roots, and a service door. The SEAL nodded. The objective was clear. Open that door, regroup, escape. The radio was dead, so he chose something sure. He began tapping a rhythm on a metal pipe, hoping the sound would travel through the floor to his team above. A trumpet blast changed the rules. High above, archers filled the railings. A rain of arrows poured down, forcing the SEALs to move. The leader dragged them into a diagonal run, using a lion's corpse for cover, firing short bursts upward just to make the archers duck. Then, from a side gate, men with nets rushed out, aiming for their weapons. One net snagged the rifle on the left, knocking the magazine loose. Behind them, a shield wall advanced, silent and deadly. Below their feet, a faint tapping started, then stopped. In the hypogeum, the SEAL and Marcus hit a dead end. A Praetorian door, locked tight. They took a detour past the animal cages, the air thick with the stench of predators. Marcus signaled to kill the torch. Darkness. Only the sound of chains and approaching footsteps. The SEAL felt a cold draft from a crack in the stone, a hint of an exit. They found a lift, the latch right there. A torchlight flooded the corridor. Praetorian guards were closing in, so close he could hear them breathe. In the stands, Commodus rose, his red cloak flaring like a streak of fire. To him, the three strangers weren't a threat. They were merchandise. With a snap of his fingers, trumpets shrieked. The massive scene change gates slammed shut, iron bolts striking home, sealing every exit. The crowd roared, first with excitement, then with a hunger for blood. Commodus laid down a new law. No one leaves the arena. This show runs until the stands are satisfied. From both sides, spearmen advanced, shields locked, spear points jutting like a wall of teeth. They didn't rush. They walked slow, squeezing the space meter by meter. The team leader glanced at his remaining magazines and knew killing them all was useless if they couldn't break through. He signaled a new objective, suppress to maintain distance, and fall back toward a service hatch he'd spotted beneath the stands, where the stone floor showed a strange seam. The three moved in a V formation, covering each other's backs, counting rounds, counting steps. Their ears strained to catch a faint metal tapping rising from underfoot. Heat dried their throats. Each breath felt like swallowing sand. High above, Commodus pointed down into the earth. Praetorians were sent into the hypogeum, the underground labyrinth, to cut off their escape. Down there, torchlights swept along the walls as iron boots marched with the steady beat of a clock. The separated SEAL dragged Marcus through a narrow corridor, using the torch's blind spots to slip past. Suddenly, a black shadow burst out, a blade skimming past them. Marcus jolted, hot blood soaking his tunic. Gritting his teeth, he pointed to an iron door. Door. Out. Back on the sand, the team leader waited. The moment the trumpet's rhythm changed, just as the spearmen locked shields and archers drew for the next volley, he gave the signal. One shot slammed into the sand at the spearmen's feet. A short burst followed, kicking up a column of dust, making the entire shield wall flinch. Instantly, the three seals broke into a run, cutting a wide arc that made the arrow volley fall wide and forced the heavy shield wall to turn slow as a boulder. They weren't fighting for victory. They were fighting for a gap. The gap was the stone seam at the edge of the stands. The leader fired two short bursts of suppression. A teammate hurled a fistful of sand into a net-bearer's face. All three lunged for the seam, that tapping from below still guiding them. At that exact moment in the hypogeum, the separated seal clung to a lift latch. He slid a key he'd acquired earlier into the lock and twisted hard. A click rang out like a rescue bell. Praetorians surged in. Marcus lunged to block them, looping a chain around the lead man's leg and yanking, then hurling his torch up to blind them for a precious second. "Go," he growled. The service door burst open. The three on the sand saw a black maw open up. The first man slipped inside, and a spear shot out from the shadows, grazing his shoulder. Above, Commodus laughed, a sound like cold stone. He had smelled their escape route from the start. In the tight tunnel, darkness was no longer shelter. It was the battlefield. The team leader pulled his teammate into a roll, muzzle pressed low, and fired 3 clean rounds. The Praetorian inside closed his shield and advanced, each step like a nail being driven. The second teammate dropped to a knee, firing at the shield's edge to break its rhythm, while the third fumbled with the iron door's latch. Just as the bolt clicked, Marcus burst from the darkness. He wrapped the chain around the lead guard's leg and hauled, pitching the whole line forward. He snapped his torch up, slapping flame into their eyes. "Go," he barked. The team leader tried to pull him along, but Marcus shook his head, blood dripping on the stone. "I die under the sand. You live." The iron door slammed shut. The 3 seals sprinted into a corridor, cold wind slapping them awake. The roar of 50,000 faded behind them. Ahead lay Rome, a world with no map, no comes, and no tomorrow. Above, Commodus watched the door close, his smile faltering for just a moment, as if he'd seen the first crack in his own power. "If you want me,"